directors to order. At this time, we'll have the roll call.
Director Hollebush is absent. Director Brewer is absent. Director Jewell.
Here.
Director Hart.
Here.
Assistant Mayor Roberts.
Here.
Director Harris.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. At this time, we'll stand for our invocation and our pledge of allegiance. Tonight, our invocation will be given by our city manager, Jay Ellington. Our pledge of allegiance will be given by our Animal Care and Adoption Center Director, Ms. Lenore T.
Come bow your head, please. Dear Lord, we thank Thee for this evening, for being able to gather. We thank Thee for these elected officials who give of their time to better our city. We thank Thee for our public servants, the ones who work day to day on our behalf to make Texarkana, Arkansas the best place in the world. Be with us as we go forward into the future, Lord. Hold our hands. We ask these things in Your name and for Your sake. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you. At this time, we'll move into our citizens' communication time. Is there anyone here tonight that wishes to address the board during citizens' communication time? Anyone that wishes to address the board? I have one item that I was asked to present during citizens' communication time, and it actually comes from Glenn Greenwell on behalf of the retired associations of the old pension fund, and they wanted to express their appreciation to the board. They had their pension plan board meeting last week, and they wanted to make sure that every board member knew that those were open meetings and that everyone was welcome to attend. But they wanted me to be sure and thank the board for your generous contribution to their retirement plan. We actually gave them more money this year, and they wanted everybody to know that without a doubt that they're very appreciative of that, and he wanted me to be sure and make the board aware that the old pension retirement fund is very appreciative of the board's support in their fund. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. At this time, we're going to move into our presentations. I have a presentation I would like to do first before we move to there that's really not on the agenda. Many of you know that tonight will be our last board meeting for our current city manager, Jay Ellington. Jay's last day in the office will actually be tomorrow. He'll be working through the end of March, but he is moving on to Virginia to go be with his daughters and grandkids, and he and his wife Kathy have been an integral part of our community for quite some time now, a couple of years I guess. It's really flown by. We've got a lot of projects. I don't mind telling you that I'm glad to see him go. I can kind of rest, hopefully, because he comes up with some kind of new project like every day, I think, but he's always talking about moving something forward and doing something. But Jay brought a wealth of experience to our city, and that does not go unappreciated at all. So Jay, if I could have you and Kathy come forward, we've got a little presentation for you. This is just a little recognition plaque thanking you for your service to the city. I told you, I think the board told you when we hired you, this was a unique opportunity to work in a border city, and you accepted that challenge, and we appreciate your service to us, and we want to present you with this, and we have something from Kathy.
Oh, thank you. How pretty.
They don't have those in Virginia. But we do appreciate your service, and on behalf of the board, we'd like to present you with this, and thank you all very much for your service.
Thank you so much.
I thought he was changing his mind. You got me all excited.
Jay, would you like to lead us into our next presentation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we're kicking off. Juliet will get up and give us a little presentation of where we are on the comp plan. We hadn't involved y'all very much. She's going to run through this pretty quickly for you and give you the overview. We want you to interact still. Tomorrow night is the best time. But you'll see this a couple of more times. You're going to see after it gets completed, you'll see it, it'll go to the Planning Commission and then back to you for approval. And then again, over the next, I'll say 6 to 8 months, you're going to see some other improvements in our systems that will come forward in the form of ordinances that we will ask you to look at that will help us plan for the future. So Juliet, will you give us an overview, please, ma'am?
As Jay said, the real show's tomorrow night, so I hope that y'all are able to attend. We've been working hard on this for just a little bit over a year now. Just going to go through, know where I point.
The lights.
Which way do I point? Over there?
It should be there, but I can click it.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Got it. Okay. So, well, it got a little bit squished, but it'll be all right. Okay, so kind of where are we? We'll talk about that. I want to talk about what we've heard from residents and the public input parts that we've had so far, what we've looked at, kind of what's on the ground today in Texarkana, and then the different draft proposals that we have for future land use, active transportation, and the master street plan. And then we'll be moving into performance measures and implementation pieces after that. So as you can see, we've come quite a ways. You know, we had the project kickoff last year in March and April, gone through visioning exercises, public input, into plan development. And then we're moving into the final phase where we want to get kind of a last bit of public input and then get that integrated into the plan, and then move forward with adoption. So just real quickly what we've heard, I know that Jay has presented some of this to y'all in the past, but common themes we've heard about people like, what do you love about Texarkana? It is a place, a lot of people, they want to live close to family and friends, and it has affordable cost of living. And then we got a lot of feedback on what do people want, right? And I won't read all these to you, but people want to see more development, they want to see more jobs, more opportunity, more housing options. That was something that we heard over and over. And they're supportive of the ideas of things I know that y'all are working on now, but different, fixing up the neighborhoods where people live, blight reduction, additional, doing things to add additional development, tourism. A lot of people talked a lot about the walking and biking on the trail system and how much they enjoyed having that trail system in place. These are some pictures from the different public input sessions that we've had. I have a vision statement. Again, we'll go through all this in detail tomorrow night, but talking about quality of life, again, trying to be reflective of what the people told us that they want to see and the things they value about the city. Looking at the city's history, a lot of people had a lot of things to say, good things to say about the unique neighborhoods and distinct characteristics that they have and how they care about that, and they want those to keep going. And then there was discussion about investment in public infrastructure and general quality of life. And then we break these down into different goal areas. So we had enduring neighborhoods and places, quality of life and image, and infrastructure and fiscal health. Existing conditions, So we looked a lot at the population density. I think this is a pretty cool map. I know it's a little bit hard to see on there, but this is one dot equals a person, and it shows you really where the population is in Texarkana. You have a lot of people that live in the core, and noticeably far less people that live on the outskirts. But the core is where we already have, infrastructure and things in place. And so to me, the possibilities for infill development and that sort of thing are there. And, the things that have happened downtown in the last decade, you see these blocks where you have these developments that have happened where you have real people, lots of people living downtown, right? It's more dense than almost any other place in the city. And that's a big deal. And you've got lots more city blocks downtown, that could integrate that kind of population as well. So looking at where people are in the city, looking at the existing land uses that you have, existing streets, where people are building, right? Where are permits being pulled? So we got the data from the city on where all the permits were from 2015 to 2021, just trying to look at patterns and understand what people are doing, existing infrastructure. So this has been all put together in a draft future land use map. It's very colorful. Again, I won't drag you into a lot of it tonight. I hope you will come tomorrow so that we can talk about it more and then you can get more detail. But a lot of it is looking at what you have on the ground and the potential that it has, and making sure that we, through the future land use plan, are removing barriers, right, that may exist now, just because the current plan is older and out of date. It's not reflective of, I-49 coming through your city. It's not reflective of a lot of things. And quite honestly, just planning has changed a lot, in the last 40 years. And we know more than we used to, and there are different things that can be integrated that I think will help move things forward in different areas of the city. So it is a very detailed plan. Like I said, it is meant to be very reflective of the city that you have, as well as its potential for what it can be in the future. One of the big things that you're going to see is that on areas where we've had just commercial in the past, we're recommending that those be opened up to allow some residential development by right. So to me, one of the biggest ones is along state line, right? There's a lot of state line that's not, well, I think there's a lot of underutilized property on state line. We'll just say that. And I mean, you're putting money into state line right now, I know as a region, right? You're putting in sidewalks and things, they're putting investment in there. You have existing infrastructure, and it could be a great place to bring in more people could live there, which in turn will help the businesses that are there as well, right? Because you have people in close proximity to those restaurants and things. And multifamily is something, a housing type that we've noticed is doing well in Texarkana, Arkansas. So thinking through things like that and trying to make sure that we anticipate that, remove any barriers that are there, so that people can utilize more of their property and be flexible with the market as it develops. So that's something that you're going to see throughout. Again, we had a lot of people who were interested in trails. They told us that over and over. So we've worked with Tyler and Adam looking at, the different extensions that they're planning to do with the trail system, and other options that could be pursued, and kind of laid those out, and you have a whole plan for the whole city. Infill areas to look at for different housing that could be put in place where you have vacant lots now. Again, inside these areas where you already have the infrastructure. You don't have to extend water lines to get there. You don't have to extend sewer lines. It's already there. And finding ways to incentivize people to develop there. Neighborhood focus areas. We'll talk about this more too. I think it is an important thing to think about. Your downtowns are complex beings, and it really, we kind of looked at areas that need to be studied more, and your downtown is one of them. And the Ozane Ingram Iron Mountain area is another. They have a lot of different opportunities, but there are also some constraints in both of those areas that I think really need further study to realize what they can truly be. So that's where we are. I hope that you come tomorrow night. We'd love to see you, and let me know if you have any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? And that's at 5:30 tomorrow?
Yes.
5:30 to 6 for the presentation side, or I'm not looking at my calendar.
I don't know if we said specifically on the, I think it's, I don't think we set a time specifically for the presentation part, but it does open at 5:30. There'll be a steering committee meeting from 5 to 5:30.
Okay. And then the other's just an open, there'll be a presentation and then open to the public for any other suggestions?
Yes.
or- Okay.
Yep, and we'll be there to talk about it. We'll have big maps out, a lot of displays, so hopefully, give a lot of people things to react to.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions for you? Okay, thank you. You can grab the lights for us back there. So moving right along, just a couple of housekeeping things to consider as we get into our agenda tonight. Jay will ask you has made a recommendation for us to table items 6 and 7 tonight. When we get there to that, and there will also not be an executive session tonight. And we will be having an executive session after our meeting on Monday, April the 3rd. Having said that, we'll move right on into our consent agenda. Our consent agenda tonight consists of 2 items. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on March the 6th. Item number 3 is to adopt a resolution approving the legal services agreement with City Attorney Josh Potter. Yes, sir.
I want to take about the city attorney issue off the consent
Okay.
agenda.
So Director Harris has asked to remove item number 3, so the consent agenda now contains item number 2, which is approval of the minutes. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second. Have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda, which consists of item number 2. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Director Harris.
Yeah, the question I was asking is, I noticed in the agreement that you will be representing the city in suits or something. And from my understanding, doesn't we have representation doing AMA or Arkansas Municipal League? And what will you be doing versus what Arkansas Municipal League would not be doing?
Well, I'll represent the city as part of the agreement in all lawsuits unless I can't. For instance, right now, there's a lawsuit going on that we need to get the municipal league involved in because of a conflict. Generally, I will be representing the city in lawsuits unless I can.
Okay,
And then it will be the municipal league.
okay. That's all I just want to know. I thought maybe the municipal league was automatically, does the lawsuit and stuff.
Jay, let me ask, you're citing a conflict, is that with your uncle?
That is.
So, to what extent, is that defined by statute, the conflict, is that,
Yes.
don't you have to have some kind of financial, just because you're,
Well,
blood relationship, that's not really defined as a,
Well, that's more of, and I think it's statutory, but the main reason is the Arkansas Lawyers Code of Conduct. And we are because I'm sure a lot of questions would be raised if myself against my uncle or anybody that I was related to. And they call that the appearance of impropriety. Not that I would assist my brother, my uncle, or my aunt on the other side, but
you would assist us in, to what extent you could, right?
correct. Oh, yeah. I just couldn't, enter my appearance in the lawsuit. Somebody from the municipal league would do that.
Sure. Okay.
Any other questions? If not, I would instruct our Assistant City Clerk to read the resolution since it involves our city attorney.
Whereas pursuant to the provisions of the Arkansas Code anointed Section 19-11-803, 804, and 805, the City of Texarkana, Arkansas has issued a request for proposals for legal services for the purpose of procuring the professional services of an attorney to serve as general counsel for the city. And whereas a copy of the above referenced request for proposal for legal services is attached hereto and made part hereof, and whereas Joshua L. Potter of the law firm Potter and Marks, PLLC, was appointed interim city attorney on February 6, 2023, and Mr. Potter has applied for the position of general counsel for the city by submitting his proposal for legal services. And whereas on March 6, 2023, the city board of directors voted unanimously to retain Joshua L. Potter for its general counsel, and whereas on an authorized representative of the city board of directors has negotiated with Mr. Potter with respect to his performance of the duties of general counsel, which duties are set forth in the attached request for proposal for legal services. And whereas an authorized representative of the city board of directors, and Mr. Potter has reached a satisfactory legal service agreement under which Mr. Potter has agreed to serve as general counsel for the city for a monthly fee of $6,667 to be paid by the city. And whereas the legal services agreement will begin April 1st, 2023, now therefore it be resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that Joshua L. Potter of the law firm Potter and Marks, PLLC, is hereby selected to serve as general counsel for the city for a monthly fee of $6,667. Effective April 1st, 2023. Passed and approved this 20th day of March 2023.
So the city clerk has read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, the resolution passes. Moving right along to our regular agenda, item number 4 tonight is to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an engineering contract with A.L. Franks Engineering for road improvements design of County Avenue. Tyler?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. So this is for to complete the engineering work for our County Avenue rehab project that's in our 2023 Public Works budget. That'll be from Arkansas Boulevard to Realtor Avenue. Y'all have any questions about that project or
You
anything?
can get
related?
Walmart to pay for some of that.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That's like an every 3-year deal on that road.
It's rough, yes. Well, it won't be after this project. There's a lot of water issues on that road, which is why it's so damaged. We're
So-
going to address those water issues
Is there
with
not
this.
anything, Tyler, that we can do from an ordinance standpoint of taking those 18-wheelers? I know there's an 18-wheeler maintenance place right there on Realtor and County.
Mm-hmm.
But those trucks that are going into Walmart all day long are coming down County.
Yeah,
And I thought we have an ordinance where you can't take trucks like that through residential.
there are no trucks supposed to be on County Avenue. So the truck repair shop that's there on the corner, supposedly they are not using that
They're just
entrance.
coming straight in from Realtor.
That's what they say. I've never witnessed them coming onto county, but
Yeah.
I have seen trucks from Walmart going down there, so
Can we not put Walmart on notice to say that they need to be directing their trucks not to use that road?
potentially, yes. I'll do some research on that for you.
Because that's a lot of money. And then this is the thing, this is a road that comes up every 3 years. It's just torn up.
It hasn't been
I mean, if I were
rehabbed.
Not to be, not to be fixing county all the time in that small area.
Yeah, in 2013, we redid all of county up to Arkansas Boulevard, and that's where we stopped. We didn't get between Arkansas Boulevard and Realtor, so it's probably been 25 years since County Avenue actually had a full repaving or any sort of base work done or anything. It's certainly time for that to be done.
I remember several years ago that was brought up, and I think the message we got back from Walmart is that we need those supplies so that we can produce the sales tax, that
Yeah.
they're our largest single sales tax producing entity.
What kind of base work is going to be involved in it?
Extensive. Yeah, there will be a lot of removal, there will be a lot of cement stabilization, so yes, there'll be extensive base work with this, as long as extensive stormwater, try to get rid of all that water on the road. There's a lot of water seeping in through, we got high banks on one side through a lot of it, and we're going to put in drains behind curbs to take it out of there before it reaches the base. And we've got some other items in plan, but all of that will come out through the engineering work.
There's going to be some emphasis on where those 18-wheelers go in and out of Walmart and in the 18-wheeler workshop there on at the other end. I mean, where they go in and out, those places.
Will they?
Yeah, emphasis there where they go, I mean, special emphasis. I mean, the base
Oh, you're talking
material-
about in those
Yes.
intersections. I
Yes.
got you. Yes, yeah,
Yes,
there
because
will be.
I go
Well,
to El Chico's a lot, and you can see almost when there's some asphalt put there, you know, it's almost gone in 2 months later.
Yeah,
If there's
yeah.
not some special base material or added depth done there, it's almost useless.
Yeah, certainly. More attention will be taken to those areas where there's large vehicles turning, or we're going to plan for the 18-wheelers. No matter what we do, we're going to get some,
Yeah.
even if we're able to knock some of it down, but we're going to plan for that anyways.
Absolutely, and I agree with the mayor, it is about revenue with Walmart, right?
Yeah.
But if those trucks come down state line, that's not our funds if they carry state line.
Yeah, true.
You know,
Yeah.
that's somebody else's problem, that's the state's problem,
Yeah.
right? So they'll come down state line, and then they can use their own parking lot to tear up.
Yeah, the other thing that doesn't help is their dock is on the county side.
Yeah, I know,
So,
I know that.
yeah, so that makes it
It's a
even more
hard position
difficult.
to be in for you,
Mhm.
because that road, I agree, you know, we need all the revenue that we can get, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you know, that road is like Danny, Director Jewell was saying, that road is torn up all the time.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It's not even my ward, and I get called on it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions for Tyler concerning item number 4?
When will they start that work, Kyle?
That's tough to say.
Trying to get you on the record.
Yeah. I would love to be able to start by September. I do not want to push this into a winter project. I'm sick of doing winter projects, but it's very difficult when we can't get them started until, the beginning of the year. And so they're already all backed up. Typically, they're 6 months behind, They normally give us some favor. But yeah, I am going to talk to them, see if we can try to get this thing bid out in August so we can at least get started in September.
Good deal.
Any other questions? What would be the desire of the board or we'll have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas the city of Texarkana, Arkansas issued a request for qualifications in June 2022 for engineers, architects, and surveyors to provide engineering services for road improvements to County Avenue. And whereas A.L. Franks Engineering Incorporated submitted their design fee proposal for the project in the amount of $47,440. And whereas A.L. Franks Engineering Incorporated was selected as the best suited candidate based on their qualifications and extensive work history with the city, and whereas funds are budgeted and available, and whereas the city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore it be resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into an engineering contract with A.L. Franks Engineering Incorporated for the road improvement design of County Avenue in the amount of $47,440, passed and approved this 20th day of March 2023.
So you've heard the resolution read by the city attorney. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, the resolution passes. Moving to item number 5, to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Francis Excavating LLC for rehab projects on Sanderson Lane, Jefferson Avenue, Stallion Drive, and Boyd Road.
So this is our first round of ARPA projects. The second round will be very shortly behind this. He's wrapping up engineering on that right now. So we'll have that one bid out within the next month and to y'all very shortly. But Francis Excavating was low bid on this. We got an extremely good bid. He wanted this job badly, and we were expecting 1.3 million, and we got 1.1. We caught a huge break on this job, so, and I've worked with Francis many times before. They do great work, so.
Which one?
Francis Excavating?
Yeah, but I'm saying you put these all together as one, right? He's doing all of them?
Yes, yeah, it's one project, yes.
Any other questions for Tyler?
And that's Sanderson between Trinity and Sugar Hill.
Between I-30 and Sugar
Okay, so
Hill.
it's between
Yeah, there's
I-30
that
and
small
Sugar Hill.
section to the
But
south of
We have
Trinity.
the other part of that Sanderson in another plan.
On the south side of I-30?
Yeah.
What do you
No,
mean?
on the north side of I-30, between the
That's-
fire station and Sugar Hill.
Yeah, all that's in this project.
Okay, good. That's
Yeah.
what I thought that.
So I-30 to Sugar Hill.
There's
Yeah.
just a short leg of Sanderson from Sugar Hill to the interstate. There's not, but what, 2 or 3 residents?
Yeah, between
Oh, yeah.
Trinity Boulevard and the interstate?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's 3 or 4 houses down there, something
Well,
like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions for Tyler? We have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas after advertisement, a low bid in the amount of $1,137,333.66 was submitted by Francis Excavating LLC for the Sanderson Lane, Jefferson Avenue, Stallion Drive, and Boyd Road rehabilitation projects. And whereas said low bid is within the amount budgeted and is available, and whereas the city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into a contract with Francis Excavating LLC for the purposes and in the amount set forth above. Pass and approve this 20th day of March, 2023.
You've heard the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, the resolution passes. It's brought to my attention before the meeting that item number 6, Jay received a call, I guess, from Crossties, Jay, that they wish to have this item tabled at this time for further discussions on that particular contract. Anybody having issues with that, what would be, I would entertain a motion to table.
Motion to table.
Second.
Second. So I have a motion and a second to table. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. Likewise, with item number 7, Jay had stated that it would be a good idea to negotiate both of these contracts at the same time, depending on outcome of the other ones, so he would ask us to table item number 7. I would entertain a motion to table.
Table. Motion to table.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to table. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, the item is tabled. Moving on to item number 8, to adopt the ordinance to delete obsolete ordinance L227. This is an item that was tabled from our March 6th meeting. Ms. Beck.
As we discussed last meeting, this ordinance just effectively removes L227 that's been determined to not provide
Exist.
any benefit to the city.
Correct. Anybody have any questions? I remind the board that this is an ordinance. What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
Move that the ordinance be read in abbreviated form.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance deleting ordinance number L-227 and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its second reading?
Motion, second reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes. Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance deleting ordinance number L-227 and for other purposes.
The ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its third and final reading?
Move that suspend the rule and place the order on third and final reading.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it placed on its third and final reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance deleting ordinance number L-227 and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, and the ordinance is adopted. Moving on to item number 9, to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 24, subdivisions of City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to set limits on road guarantee renewals. Ms. Beck.
Yes, sir. Again, this is the second part of the ordinance that we had last meeting. And this particular ordinance is to edit a section of subdivision chapter to set limits on the number of times that a guarantee can be renewed for road construction. So,
Any other questions for Ms. Beck? I remind the board, this is an ordinance as well. What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending section 24-51 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to set limits on road guarantee renewals and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its second reading?
Motion for second reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending section 24-51 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to set limits on road guarantee renewals and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board for the third and final reading tonight?
Third reading abbreviated form.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending section 24-51 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to set limits on road guarantee renewals and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board for adoption?
Motion for adoption.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting for this particular ordinance, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, and the ordinance is adopted. Moving on to our last item on our regular agenda is item number 10, to adopt an ordinance authorizing the city manager to purchase desktop computers, laptop computers, and their necessary accessories to be utilized by various departments of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas. Brandon?
Evening, Mayor, members of the board. This is a purchase of 30 computers, 7 DVD drives, 7 laptop bags, and 8 docking stations for use by the city. They'll be used in various departments across the city, excluding the police department. This purchase was planned in the current budget. We took some budget monies from FY22 as well as FY23 to get to the $45,000 we have in budget. It's a routine replacement of equipment that's being replaced. It's the same replacement schedule that we use for the water utility and for the Texas side. We have right at 1,000 devices across the enterprise that we maintain, and we have it standardized with Dell on the same models for ease of maintenance so that staff doesn't have to try to work on multiple different models. This will bring a vast majority of the city's computers that are in service under warranty. There are quite a few that are not. And like I said, this is a very routine replacement schedule that we do every year. So, are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Brandon?
The emergency clause is requested because the quote expires on 5 April, and we're requesting to purchase off of the DIR contract, which is the state contract with the Texas Department of Information Resources that we purchase almost all of our technology for both municipalities through.
I remind the board that this is an ordinance. To pass tonight, it would need to be read 3 times. What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract to purchase desktop computers, laptop computers, and their necessary accessories for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading tonight?
Motion second, abbreviated form, please.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract to purchase desktop computers, laptop computers, and their necessary accessories for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading tonight?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to have it read on its third reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract to purchase desktop computers, laptop computers, and their necessary accessories for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
The ordinance has been read on its third reading, third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing none, seeing none, would you call the roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. The ordinance is adopted. The water company has asked for an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board to have an emergency clause attached?
Motion to attach.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to attach emergency clause. Any other discussion? Could you call a roll?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. All right. Moving right along, we'll get into our Board of Directors commentary. Is there anyone with the board tonight that wishes to address the board and the public?
I guess I do, Mayor.
Director Harris?
Yes, I got, I guess a question or concern that I know I stay adjacent to a railroad track, and I know recently there been some train derailing and stuff. But I also noticed that I'm not aware of any, and I want to know who make that determination. If there's a train derailing, just say for instance over there by where I stay at, over there on Jones Street or Pinehurst Street, where would the people designated to go to if there was a train derailment? And I guess that's the question I'm asking, because, and then you would need two locations, and because if the train derailing on that track there, and you basically go, both people can't go to both places. So that's the place I'm trying to figure out. Where would the people go if there was a train derailment down on Union Pacific? But and also, and who would be responsible for making that determination as to where the people would go if there was a train derailment? But also, there's I've come thinking, so there's another train track also over there on about by 15th Street too. But that's what I'm getting at. But also,
Are you talking about as far as a shelter?
Yeah.
If there was temporary housing or something like
No,
that?
if a train derailed, what would the people go to get a head count and just to go ahead until they say it's all right, you go back to their house?
That's a good question, but I'm 99% sure, and Jay may know, I know we've had one meeting about this before, but most of those derailments are handled by the Miller County Office of Emergency
Yes.
Management. So there should be some type of plan in place through Miller County's OEM that would address that, because they would handle any chemical spills, any type thing like that. They have precedence over, jurisdiction over all those types of things through the Office of Emergency Management.
Okay, even though next week I should be meeting with some train official, and I know that question gonna come up, and also the question gonna come up as to how fast do the train need to be going during the neighborhood. I was invited to a round table to meet with train official next week. So, but then the other question is that I know pretty soon we gonna be trying to get an assistant city manager somewhere, and my question is really to the city attorney. There's two codes, 1427-119 and 1427-121. And one on 1447-121 state about the acting city manager, which it doesn't give no a resident requirement in that. But it does give a reference to 1447-19 on that. And so my question would be is a resident is requirement should be looked at as to the acting city manager, and then should the acting city manager, when they is done, should they have a time limit per se as how long they gonna be acting city manager based on that? Because technically, the real city, when you hire city manager, in a sense, he is temporary, to a certain extent, and then until he say he ready to go, which that's happening now, and so, and then if you was to get someone that just say we was got a city manager that live on the Texas side temporary, would that be in violation of any law based on the state law for us an acting city manager? And then if it wouldn't be, would the resident requirement goes into effect for the acting, and how long should that acting be active? Then my other question is that while I was doing my research, I found a Attorney General opinion back in 2015, 176. That's the number. It's 2015, 176, and believe it or not, Stephanie Pollard Black the one who requested it. And based on the requesting of the Attorney General's opinion, it basically probably had something to do with Texarkana, Arkansas. And it was a question that was asked, that can a police chief who's currently a full-time employee act as a city manager? That was the question. And it's a 5-page thing there, and it was asking other questions here. And it boiled down to the question is that the question that it boiled down to the conclusion, and understand what the Attorney General opinion is. It's basically just an opinion until somebody says otherwise. But it kind of gives the city somewhat a direction maybe they can go. And it basically was saying that the city, if you was to have the incidents, from one reading, the police chief, he basically could not oversee his own self, because the city manager basically oversees the department head from that, and basically he could not regulate himself. So how would that work into our quest for a city, for the city manager? And if it's be currently a department head. And like I said, I was gonna give you this copy of this opinion. And I'm not really wanting no opinion or question right now. I know we really want to look into this to our next meeting.
Okay.
But basically, I just kind of want, and I think that since it's a legal question, it basically needs to be discussed in public among the boards. You know? And I don't think it needs to be, and I want, and that's the reason I'm doing it in public, because, which it should be in public anyway. That way that when you give your thing, then if the board member wanted to chime in, they were more than welcome to with this, and then they basically could see. But like I said,
So let me make sure I understand what you're asking, so that I know what answers to try to give. So you're asking, the first thing would be, is there a residency requirement for anyone that is either acting or an interim city manager? Does the resident requirement apply? Is that what you're asking? So in other words, if we name an interim, that interim has to live inside the city limits of Texarkana, Arkansas, or not? Does your question, are you asking, does it or does it not?
I'm saying that the law somewhat implies that to a certain extent, because if you look at the acting law, but the acting law refers to, the acting law is 1427-121, but it doesn't state the resident requirement. But it reference to 1427-119. So I'm asking our city attorney opinion on that, is that necessarily a resident requirement? Because with that is, you basically can use, it doesn't really matter where that person stay at to a certain extent, if depending on how you look at it.
For acting or for permanent or for both?
Permanent it said it need to be a resident requirement.
Right, so you're asking if that applies to an acting?
Yeah, basically in a sense, but is that the spirit of the law, by getting someone that's not a resident, do that somewhat defeat the spirit of the law, even though it referenced back to that? And then that's the case, should there be a time limit on that person? Because
You could just name an interim and let them go for 10 years.
You can let them go for 5 years based on.
I'd also like, we're using interim, and really in the statutes and everything, it doesn't use the word interim. So aren't we actually talking about acting city manager? And the statute is pretty clear. We're actually appointing an acting city manager, and that is a function of the city board. By statute, and that's the position that needs to be filled by the city board, which
Okay, and then.
on anybody's recommendation.
The second part of that is pertains to the chief of police.
Well,
You're saying is to,
no, that's not what I'm trying to say, that really to the chief of police. I'm really taking it a different forward and saying, could any department head be city manager based on within the concept of this term general opinion. Would that count?
I haven't read that opinion,
Okay.
but I think that is correct, that a department head could not. Now, if a department head wanted to, and they resign, and then that, because, but I'd have to look at that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I would give you that, but like I say, we got into, April to give you enough time to research and to go to that. Cause what I'm getting at is that, just say just say if something come up in the acting city manager, we had to make a decision, a final decision. Even though that person may be in their job temporarily, but yet they making long-lasting final decisions.
Well, the acting city manager statute is pretty short. I looked at it
Okay.
extensively. And about the only people that can't be appointed is the seven of us. Anybody else can be appointed acting city manager by this board.
My first reaction would be is, one, if you name a current department head as a acting city manager, that department head immediately becomes under the umbrella of the board of directors and doesn't work for anyone but us. And so that responsibility of that would be, first of all, to manage all employees, so I don't see any, they're just in sense became under the organizational chart, they fell under the board of directors instead of the city manager. So they're not governing and bossing themselves around. They become acting city manager, they act on behalf of the board of directors. The second thing that comes to mind is that the primary responsibility of this board of directors is to name a city manager. And that does not mean 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 10 years. It means that you have the obligation to act appropriately. And I believe when we got into this with Jay, it says as soon as possible. You have a responsibility to the city to find a city manager. We can look again and see what the actual term of that. But there is some type of time frame in there. But it says that, you don't have forever to name one in that current thing.
The acting city manager statute clearly says, in the absence of the city manager, the acting city manager comes into play. And that's the position we're going to be in when Jay leaves. So it's the responsibility.
And just my last little comment on this, I know, like I said, I'm bringing this out for discussion. I think this is where this place of this discussion need to be held at. And just say that if you make a department head city manager, and if it's gonna take us longer than 30 days to find a city manager, why not just spread that city manager job around to each department head if you're gonna use that department head concept? Instead of just picking one person and they get it, then you won't be somewhat in the muck of the law.
Well, I mean, if you want to get technical about it, we have an employee who holds the title of assistant city
That's
manager.
the point I'm getting at.
So,
That's the point. That's the point I'm getting at in a roundabout way, because even though that person may live on the Texas side, technically, she's not barred from serving
I don't
city
know where
manager.
she lives. I don't know where she lives.
Well, she stayed on the Texas side.
Does she?
Yeah.
Well, I know the Texas side, several years ago, when they were looking for a police chief, did that rotation. And to me, that's not stability. And I think you need, the employees need to know stability, our finances need to know stability, we need it, and whoever we appoint as interim needs to be there until we're comfortable with the decision on making a selection for a permanent city manager. Rotating it, I think, creates more chaos than anything. I mean,
Say that we have a
I'm just throwing that out there.
We have a
for
responsibility
discussion.
to hire a city manager as soon as possible as our applicants and so forth warrant. If it's not justified in 30 days or 45 days or 60 days, we have qualified candidates that warrant interviewing at the consensus of this board, we keep searching.
That's right.
But we have an obligation we may find one next week. We may find somebody on April the 3rd we may want to interview.
I would just say that in the past, we have let Tyronda fill that position, and I think she's done.
I didn't want to call her name because
No,
I didn't
I'm
want to
calling
get
her
into,
name.
I didn't want to get into executive session.
Well, we're not getting into executive session.
But
Tyronda-
I'm stating the law, so that's what I was trying to state.
Yeah, no, but Tyronda currently is the interim as Jay will be his last day tomorrow until the end of his employment at the end of the March, he has the right to name who that is going to be the fill-in.
I'm not disputing that.
Right.
Any other discussion? Jay, how about your last report? Brief or long, or
There be agreement.
just, can you say just like, it's been nice working for y'all, I'll see y'all later?
All I know is they said the truck was gassed and ready to go.
Well, if I was asking y'all that, you'd say, well, the politicians have the last word, right? But tonight, the manager has the last word for you. I've got a couple items for you, Mayor. First, I want to thank you for allowing me to serve the citizens and work with each of you. It's been my pleasure. Hopefully, we accomplish some things together, so thank you for allowing me to do that. I had a couple of issues that I said, are they failures or are they just issues that I wasn't able to get solved? So I'll challenge you with these two. The first of those is that we didn't accomplish anything to get a street system of replacement and maintenance in place. We did accomplish surveying that system, determining where the streets are, the reds, the greens, et cetera. So we have that in place, but I didn't get to the place that I wanted to be with you. So I'm going to challenge you to get there. I did make one recommendation that we didn't pass, which was to try to move the millage forward through the quorum court system to the maximum amount. We have to, at some point in time, recognize that the only way we're going to fix our streets in Texarkana, Arkansas, is to tax ourselves. I'm sorry, I'll say that for you. It's the only way we're going to fix it, is that we decide to do it ourselves. The next piece was a relationship piece that I think I failed a little bit on as well. And it had to do with our relationship with Miller County, from everything from the JDC to the PSAP to our jail rates, a number of things back and forth between the county and the city. What I share with you there is, please move the past further back. Please move it further back. You've got to get to some decision-making progress where us in the county are not pushing on each other every time an issue comes up. Most of the communities I've had the opportunity to serve, all of you have heard me say this, solve these issues years ago. So I challenge you to try to do that as well. Let me get over on the good side of this, okay? So we do have some accomplishments. The first, we will end up, between us and the A&P Commission, we'll put close to $1 million down in the entertainment district for the Front Street Plaza. This venue and what it will do for entertainment and community events will carry Texarkana a long way on both sides of the line. Our federal dollars we were able to put together, you heard we're moving those forward finally on some street improvements, which were the most critical. We accomplished in the Animal Control and Adoption Center 2 things. We got a new director there, and we were able to open the adoption center facility side. Those are really pluses for this community, and I think it's been very positive. I think we've been able, and y'all have helped me with cooperative relationships, both on the Texas side with the city of Texarkana, as well as our bi-state partners as well. So our cooperative relationships in the community have improved. And y'all have helped do that because we've had a number of items come through which were resolutions adopting relationship pieces. That was really important for me. The next one was we were able to, through many of our service contracts, put in place a cost of living index, which now will move those contracts forward without having knock-down, drag-out discussion again about whether those enterprises need to have additional revenues. It will be driven by the economy of our area. Really important that those enterprise systems work that way. We were able to establish the Parks and Recreation Department and put a director in place there. We've had, over these couple of years, some stable budgets, even though we've had some great discussions about what we could do with what little monies we had to move around. We've had some stable situations during that time period. Most of that due to increase in sales tax coming back to us. Let's see, unique public servants is the next one. You have a great group of department heads, a great group of employees. You know, we have 250 people we have to look out after every day. So those are some important people in our community. So keep them up on your list. The last one I had in that list of things is I also was able to add to the police department a new chief to help us with our policing in the community. And I think he will carry you a long way as well. So a group of 10 or 12 accomplishments in that, a couple of issues that I challenge you to keep working on. And again, I thank you as part of my ability to serve you and the community. It's all been my pleasure. Enjoyed working with you. Thank you. Well, Mayor, I got two others. March 21st, which is tomorrow, is the comp plan stuff at the rec center. So remember that one. The other date I need you to put on your calendar is, and I'll be coordinating with the Texarkana, Texas side again, and the airport authority for a joint, both councils and the airport board, all three to meet together at the new terminal, 6 o'clock on April the 27th. 6 o'clock on April the 27th. I'll make sure that we get that out to you in a format that you won't, but it will require all three of us to set meetings, public meetings for that time period. So it will be really the airport authority's meeting day, normal meeting day, but all three bodies will be there. And they will lay out for us where we are with the new terminal and where we're going in the future with it as well.
That's 6 o'clock, Jay.
6 o'clock, April 27th, at the new terminal. In the new terminal, whatever point of construction it's in, you'll be in the terminal that day. That's all I got, Mayor.
Any other discussion? Jay, we appreciate you and Kathy again, and good luck in Virginia. I bet it's a lot colder up there than it is right here. Pack all your coats. Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second. Could you call the roll, please?
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, we're adjourned.